Hocus Pocus by Pegasus Rescue Brigade, Chapter 7. Gradually, the charm came to pass. Over the next several weeks, Dinky and her friends stayed mostly out of trouble, and the looming threat of the Dean began to fade from Dinky's mind. The students' classes intensified rapidly. Dinky and Clarity often spent hours practicing their transformation spells, and Dinky found herself turning to Honeydew for aid in magical biology more often than she would have liked. Their hard work paid off, though, and all fillies maintained high grades as midterm approached. However, in spite of Dinky's academic success, life at the academy continued to have its small problems. Ever since the duel, Sparkler had kept a particularly close eye on Dinky. The filly did her best to avoid even the most minor infraction of the rules, ever wary of the overseer's watchful gaze. Then there was the matter of scuffle. Dinky had been wholly confused on the matter of the colt. Often when their paths crossed, he seemed eager to confront the trio of fillies, was even more eager to do so when his brothers were around to back him up. Other times, however, he passed Dinky and her friends without a word. Whether he chose to ignore them or confront them seemed to be based on a matter of circumstances that Dinky could not comprehend. One other matter puzzled Dinky as well. What exactly was lurking in the shadows of the forest next to the castle? And why did it seem so interested in her? Dinky was gripped by the familiar sensation of being watched about once a week. Sometimes she cast a glimpse of those blue eyes again, but their owner never showed itself. Students were permitted to wander the forest freely during daylight hours, and Dinky's friends had been more than happy to join her on a brief expedition into the trees. Their searches always failed, though. One afternoon, after classes ended, Dinky and her friends were playing in the pool at the base of the waterfall running down the valley wall, when Dinky felt the all-too-familiar stare coming from nearby trees.
"That thing is watching us again,"
she said dully, not even bothering to glance in the direction of the forest.
"You girls can feel it, right?"
Clarity climbed up on the bank and shook herself violently, flaking wire everywhere. "Yeah, it's lurking over there again," she affirmed. "Just ignore it. It hasn't cost you any trouble all term. Why should it start now?"
"It's so strange,"
Honeydew added, as she wrung out her sopping tail.
"Professor Chestnut has been kind enough to help me with some research, but we haven't come up with much, and she's never encountered this particular creature herself, so she can't really help."
"Come to think of it," Clarity added, "I've been down by the forest loads of time myself, and I've never encountered it. I've even asked a couple of the other foals around, including some other students my sister used to know, but none of them have seen it either." She smirked. "I think it only shows up when Dinky's around." Dinky rolled her eyes.
"How flattering,"
she said sarcastically.
"to keep me forcing instead of stalking me." "Well, you are the only one who's seen it,"
Honeydew pointed out, as she carefully wound the braid back into her tail.
"Every time you bring us with you to look for it, it just goes away before we even make it to the tree line. I might have a hard time believing it's there at all, if not for the unsettling feeling when it watches us." "It's not like I ever got a good look at the thing," Dinky said. "Sometimes it seems to slither away when I get near it. Other times, it looks more like it's running once it climbs up into the trees. I don't know too many animals that can do all those things, and if I ever get close enough to see it in the light, I'll never be able to figure it out."
"You have seen its eyes clearly, right?" Clarity asked. Dinky cast a glance towards the forest, seeing if she could find this familiar glimmer. But as usual, the creature was well hidden.
"Yeah, its eyes practically glow in the dark," she responded. "They're blue and don't have pupils. I can't think of any animal with eyes like that."
Clarity stiffened. "Are you sure about that?" she asked slowly. "Now that I think about it, I'm pretty sure we do know a creature like that, and he happens to be our assistant professor in transformation class." Dinky's jaws dropped.
"You're right," she sputtered. "Nestor's got eyes like that. Why didn't I think of that before?" "But you told us once that the creature's eyes were pretty small,"
Honeydew acted.
"I've only seen Nestor around once or twice, but his eyes seem kind of not small. He's a changeling, Honeydew,
Dinky said bluntly.
He can modify his appearance however he wants. I don't think it'd be too difficult for him to shrink himself or something.
She gasped as another thought occurred to her.
In fact,
She continued, more loudly as her theory gained steam.
that would also explain why the thing in the forest seems to move so strangely. If it was a changeling, it could just seems to escape the most efficient way depending on its environment. Don't you think he'd probably change state to spy on you then?
Honeydew interjected. Dinky shrugged.
He probably doesn't realize I can still see his eyes when he's hidden. If he did, he'd probably take more care to hide them.
But if it is Nestor, what interest does he have in you? Clarity asked. Dinky stopped short and scratched her head.
That's a very good question.
Clarity nodded. I know it seems like it must be Nestor, but he's been nothing but friendly to us ever since we met him. He needs a motive. Dinky plopped down on the damp grass and pondered.
Meaning, maybe he's just keeping an eye on ponies that worry him.
She theorized.
He probably knows I was in Canterlot during the Changeling invasion, so he figures I'm somebody who wouldn't like him. He's watching me to make sure I don't try to get him fired.
That would make kind of sense. Nestor doesn't have any options. If he gets banished from the academy, he'll have nowhere to go.
Well, couldn't he just talk to me?
Dinky said crossly.
This whole stalking thing is getting annoying.
You're getting ahead of yourself, Clarity warned. This is only if it turns out it's actually him that's talking to you. Dinky blinked.
Whatever evidence do you need, Clarity?
She asked undoubted.
All signs point to Nestor.
Clarity shrugged. It beats me, but I just got a gut feeling that Nestor's a good guy. He wouldn't do something like this.
I like to believe that,
Dinky admitted.
but he's a changeling. Being bad might be his nature. Girls?
Honeydew interrupted.
Have you noticed we're not being watched anymore?
Dinky and Clarity looked through the forest. The eerie sense of presence had vanished.
Well, I think he's gone for now,
Dinky said finally.
I guess we should go inside and investigate a little further. Maybe there's something in the library about changelings that can help us prove...
Splash! A large object hurtled into the pool, creating a wave that washed over the three recently dried fillies. Honeydew squeaked in surprise and ducked under behind her friends, but the action failed to shield her from the splash. The girls coughed and sputtered as they shook off the unexpected water. A colt's brown face popped up from beneath the water's surface. He grinned at the fillies. Did you three get wet? He asked without concern.
Scuffle!
Dinky sighed.
What do you think you're doing?
I think I decided to go for a swim. Scuffle replied, chuckling. Not my fault you three happened to be sitting in the splash zone. Dinky rolled her eyes, causing Scuffle to laugh. Cheer up, he chided. You probably needed a bath anyway. Maybe they should call you Dinky Doo? So loud obnoxious laughter came from the other side of the pool. Scuffle's brothers had arrived. Good one, bro, Scorch called. I knew you wouldn't let her sass you without sassing her right back. The brothers took a running leap into the water as well. Dinky and her friends had the sense to back up before they could cause a splash. Beat it, twerps, Frosty said. We're using the swimming hole now. Dinky, at the entrance of her own health, had never had the nerve to stand up to Scuffle's older brothers. But, for a moment, she seriously considered doing so. She glared at the ponies in the pool, but before she could say something, she felt a hoof tap her softly on the shoulder. Dinky turned around and felt her anger replace her concern when she saw Honeydew. The filly was servicing and on the verge of tears.
Please, let's just go.
Honeydew whispered.
We can't really do anything, and I just don't want any more conflict.
Hey, Scorch called. You heard Frosty. Get going.
Come on,
Dinky said to Clarity, unable to ignore Honeydew's plea for escape.
let's just back off.
We were done anyway, Clarity grumbled, as the fillies headed for the castle. After they had gone a few steps, Dinky glanced back and locked eyes with Scuffle for a moment. The colt wore a strange, complex expression. After a few seconds, he turned away and swam over to join his brothers. Dinky watched for a moment more, and then went with her friends to dry herself off for the second time in the last few minutes. Problems like Scuffle or the strange creature watching Dinky often seemed to blend into the background very quickly, as academics once again took the filly's full attention, and this week was no exception. On one cloudy Wednesday morning, Dinky found herself studying rigorously for an upcoming exam in basic enchantments class. Enchantments had became Dinky's favorite subject. She wasn't any more skilled at casting enchantments as she was with any other spell, but the very nature of the subject and potential for what could be accomplished with the associated magic filled her with a sense of excitement that most of the other subjects couldn't quite match. Although she had read it many times, Dinky had opened her textbook to the first section for one final review. Lesson 1. What is an enchantment? Enchantment is a field of magic that is all too often ignored or forgotten in favor of bigger, flashier, and more powerful spells. In truth, enchantments are one of the most essential part of modern unicorn life, even if we don't always realize it. In simplest terms, an enchantment is a spell that can be stored on a physical object, giving that object long-term magical properties. It is possible to place an enchantment on any object, from the smallest stone to the largest building, although certain structures are capable of holding more powerful or relatable enchantments than others. It's even possible to enchant oneself or another pony for a short time, but this requires a great deal of power and skill. It may not be immediately clear what benefit can be gained from placing a long-term spell on an object. Enchantments are sort of a miscellaneous field. Spells that have various effects that don't fit in any other category of magic are common. For example, let's say it's a brisk winter day, and all you have is an old scarf to protect you from the cold. With a very simple enchantment, the scarf can be made to give off magical wards so you can tackle the chilly day comfortably. Enchantments can generate energy and provide strength to objects, send messages or signals, or even temporarily heighten natural senses or abilities. New uses for these spells are discovered on a regular basis, making it one of the broadest fields of magic. For the next few chapters, we will focus on Hey, Dinky! Clarity interrupted, calling down from up her bunk, where she too was studying. Which gem is better for holding a Sarong enchantment, a ruby or an emerald?
Ruby, I think, Dinky answered. Because the structure of hardened gemstones is more favorable for holding magic, right?
Clarity nodded and buried her nose in the book again. One of the very first things the enchantments professor had taught her was that gemstones were by far the most useful objects for containing enchantment, due to their highly uniform crystal structure. What followed was a long-winded lecture about the magic combination capacities of various molecular structures, most of which Dinky hadn't committed to memory. Dinky enjoyed working with gems during their class's practice sessions. Their capacity for becoming imbued with magic was immediately apparent. The first time Dinky had directed an enchantment on one, it had felt a bit like the stone had actually tugged the magic away from her horn and into itself. As interesting as enchantments was, it still required a lot of practice and careful memorization. Dinky could say that she wasn't at least a little worried about the upcoming exam.
Looks like it's almost time for class, Clarity announced. Come on, girls, we have an exam to ace.
As usual, Clarity showed no sign of anything but optimistic, even though Dinky suspected that, in truth, the great filly was feeling more nervous than she was. Dinky and Honeydew hopped up and followed their friend to the castle. There was total silence, save for the scratching of quills, and even that was muffled by the thickly carpeted floor and the curtain-padded walls of the enchantments classroom. Dinky examined her test carefully. Something seemed to be amiss. The test only contained a hooful of questions, most of which were very simple. In its current form, it couldn't possibly take more than a small fraction of the class period. Dinky looked up curiously, and her confused gaze met the eyes of Professor Luster, the mayor who taught all the enchantment classes at the academy, from the most basic to the most advanced. Professor Luster was one of the youngest professors at the academy. So much so, in fact, that more than a few of the 4th and 5th term students evidently had a bit of a crush on her. She was, by any standard, an extremely beautiful pony, with a whitish coat tinted with a faint pink, and a perfectly groomed, silky, hot pink mane with a bold streak of yellow running through it. Despite her age and appearance, Professor Lester was no pushover. Apparently, she was responsible for the discovery of over 50 new enchantments in the few short years she herself had graduated from the academy. Professor Lester noted Dinky's concerned look and trotted quietly over.
Is everything all right, Dinky?
She asked in a hushed tone.
I don't know,
Dinky replied.
Is the test supposed to be this short?
Professor Lester winked.
We're going to do something a little special today,
She responded.
I had to shorten the test so we have time for it. I don't think anybody's going to mind.
Dinky glanced around. Sure enough, the rest of the class seemed to be breathing a collective sigh of relief as they realized how short and simple the dreaded examination really was. Dinky hurriedly filled the last few answers and then lifted the paper on Aurora, placing it on the box on the professor's desk. The remaining students finished within a few minutes. Professor Lester scanned the room and flicked her tail in satisfaction.
Good. That didn't take long at all,
she said.
As you all probably guessed, the test was originally going to be much longer. But I was presented with a unique opportunity yesterday and decided it was just not too good to share with you all. So, consider it a little favor for being such a great class so far.
Royal blue magic surrounded the professor's horn as he lifted up a huge sack from behind her desk and placed it on the floor in front of the students. The contents clattered together loudly.
As it turns out, the Academy's male dragon is a bit ill right now.
Oh, poor Twinkletoes, the professor explained.
He's lost his appetite, and so he was kind enough to donate his daily allowance of gemstones to the enchantments department, since he isn't planning on eating them anyway.
Ophelia in the front row raised her hoof.
But you've been providing gems for us to use in class almost every day,
she pointed out.
How's this any different?
I'm glad you asked, said Professor Lester.
Gemstones are common in Equestria, but ones of high quality and useful shape are fairly hard to come by. The ones we practice on in class aren't exactly the best. They're softer stones like quartz or if we're lucky, garnet. On the rare occasions that we have hard stones available, they're usually just regular shards with shapes that don't favor particularly strong enchantments. And when we do get very high quality stones, they're usually kept aside for use by the advanced enchantment classes rather than you all.
She gestured to the sack.
Dragons, on the other hand, need harder gems to promote good health, so Twinkletoes often has some very nice gems in its collection, and today we have a bag full of them. In fact, there are so many that even the basic enchantment classes can use them, and there'll still be enough left over for the advanced classes to use them later.
Professor Lester loosened the string on the bag and displayed the gems within. A few hundred vibrant stones in many colors, all cut into beautiful shapes, glimmered inside. Excited whispers spread throughout the class.
So, here's what I'm thinking,
the professor said slowly, glaring at the students.
Each of you can come up and choose a stone. Some are better than others, so I'm going to let you look at what you're choosing. Whatever you pull out of the bag, you get to keep. But even the softest stones in here are harder than the ones we usually use in class, so any choice is a good one.
Which enchantment are we going to practice on them? One colt asked.
I was getting to that,
Professor Lester continued.
It seems like a waste to use a special opportunity like this on just a simple practice section. In the back of your textbook, there is a large section detailing a number of easy-to-do intermediate enchantments. All of them have effects that are convenient in some way. So, the typical way to use them is to seal them in jewelry, like we often do. Each of you can pick any enchantment you want, and we'll spend the rest of the class today enchanting the stones and making them into pendants or other accessories. You can keep what you make, of course.
The excited whispers in the class erupted into full conversations as the folks immediately began discussing what they were going to make.
All right, settle down,
Professor Lester called over to noise.
Before we do anything, you each need to pick up a gem. Line up, and don't worry, there are plenty to go around.
Many of the students trampled to the front of the room. Dinky trotted over to Clarity and Honeydew, who both looked as excited as he felt.
I can't believe this, Clarity gushed. Professor Luster doesn't even let us keep the practice stones, and now we get to make our very own high-quality enchanted jewelry. It's a terrible thing to say, but I sort of wish old Twinkletoes we could sing more often.
Honeydew giggled. On another topic, do either of you girls know what kind of enchantment you're going to use yet?
Dinky shrugged.
I think I'm going to look through the textbook before I decide,
she admitted.
Girls, called Professor Luster sweetly, you're up next. Dinky and her friends approached the bag. The fillies looked at one another, silently asking which would go first.
Go ahead, Clarity. You go pick first.
Professor Luster held the bag open, and Clarity stuck a hoof inside and fished around for the right gem. She pulled out a pinkish purple stone cut into a circle.
What is this? She asked. It's a little too pink to be amethyst, I think.
That, Clarity, is a topaz,
Professor Luster declared.
The most common ones are light blue, but they come in a variety of colors. Well, to compare it to something more easily recognizable, it's a little harder than an emerald.
The Professor answered.
You should be able to give it to a pretty strong magical effect.
Clarity grinned as he cradled the stone in her hoof, before stepping aside to allow Honeydew to choose. The pink filly reached into the bag, and withdrew it almost immediately, holding a peculiar object. The stone she had chosen wasn't cut into an ornate, faceted pattern at all, nor was it semi-transparent or vibrantly colored. It looked like an egg-shaped rock, a few centimeters long and dull blue in color, with 6 whitish lines radiating from the central point of the oval. Honeydew looked disappointed.
Is this even a gem?
She asked forlornly.
It looks like a smooth rock.
Professor Luster, however, had the opposite reaction. Her eyes lit up when she saw what Honeydew was holding.
Don't judge a book by its cover, Honeydew,
the professor said.
What you've got there is a star sapphire.
Not a word, fruit user!
Oh.
That's so much to look at, maybe, but the internal structure is every bit as good as the kind of sapphire you're more familiar with. It's one of the hardest gems there is, and despite its appearance, you could just put any kind of enchantment on that and get marvelous results. Oh.
Honeydew blitzed a bit and backed away, examining her humble-looking gem with newfound admiration.
And now it's your turn, Dinky,
Professor Luster said, beckoning to the filly.
Let's see what you get.
Dinky cautiously reached into the sack. She felt dozens of stones, but it was impossible to tell their variety without seeing them. She felt around for a few moments before making her selection. Dinky lifted the gem out of the darkness of his sack. The stone in her hoof was totally clear, and reflected the light, refracting it into many colors. The filly stared at it, hardly daring to believe her eyes, before attempting to speak.
Is this a...
Professor Luster nodded.
You're very lucky, she admitted. That's a diamond. There's only 1 or 2 or 3 of those in this whole bag. In its pure form, it's the most readily enchantable substance in Equestria.
Dinky still had trouble finding her voice.
You get to keep this? That was the deal, Professor Luster answered, smiling. Why don't you girls head over to one of the work tables and pick out some enchantments for those impressive gems of yours?
Dinky nodded vaguely and wandered to a table, still looking at the diamond in shock. Clarity and Honeydew sat down on either side of her. Oh, I do love enchanting on Skyrim. Let me get out my table and put my hands down. Clarity waved a hoof in front of Dinky's face.
Celestia to Dinky, she called. Let's get started. I know that diamond is cool, but if it's just a shiny rock, if you don't figure out how to enchant it.
Dinky smiled.
You have a point. Where are the textbooks?
Clarity slid the 3 large books across the table, and each filly began to pace through, searching for the perfect spell. Around the room, other students began choosing a spell and enchanting their stones. But Dinky and her friends were finding it difficult to decide on the right spells.
It can't be just anything, Clarity said. throwing her foot hose up for emphasis. This is probably the only enchanted object we get to keep all term. We have to choose the one spell that we want to take with us wherever we go. The Great Filly turned another page. It slammed her hoof down into bucket silently. Like this one. This one's perfect. Dinky leaned over to look at the page of Clarity's book. Pony Compass Charm. Enchantment that allows the wearer of the enchanted object to find their way to the location of a specific pony or ponies, the identities of whom are specified when the enchantment is first set. Isn't that cool? Clarity asked. I could enchant it so it leads me right to you girls if I need to find you.
How do you specify that we're the ponies you want to find now?
Dinky asked. You each just need to put a hoof on the gem while I enchant it, Clarity explained. It's small enough that only 2 ponies would be able to touch it at once anyway. Clarity set the gem on a worktop between her 2 friends, then placed her forehose behind it and leaned forward, switching her tail expectantly. Well, come on, let's try it, she urged. Dinky grinned and placed her hoof on the topaz. Honeydew followed suit. Clarity's deep red magic enveloped her horn as she concentrated. There was a loud crackle of energy, and Dinky jumped and pulled her hoof back, as a sensation akin to an electrical shock ran up her foreleg. Honeydew did the same, looking at the gem with apprehension as it briefly pulsed with reddish light. Clarity grinned sheepishly. Oops, she mumbled. The last paragraph says that the pony touching the gem will feel a shock when their body signatures are locked in. I guess I should have read that before. Dinky sighed and shook her head chuckling.
No harm done, I guess,
she replied.
That was a little unexpected. Now, it's my turn.
Honeydew chimed in.
I think I found the spell I want.
She pointed to a book in her page. Inconspicuous spell. Makes the wearer of the enchanted object particularly unnoticeable. The wearer can still be seen, but others are likely paying little to no attention to the wearer, unless they catch another's attention by speaking directly to them. The charm is not incredibly powerful, and the pony affected by it can also be sensed through other certain spells, or by pure perception of particularly alert individuals, unicorn or otherwise. Dinky scratched up her nose.
How did you? Why would you want that?
She asked concerned.
Well, I thought,
Honeydew shuffled a hoof on the floor silently.
I thought maybe I wouldn't have to worry about Scuffle anymore. If he doesn't notice me, he can't bother me. But it's not worth it,
Dinky argued.
Would you really hide yourself away from every pony just to make sure that one particularly leaves you alone? We wouldn't even be able to acknowledge you unless you came and talked to us. Well, I'd make sure to come and find you every time we were together and let you know I was there.
Honeydew carried meekly.
Or, take out the enchanted jewelry when I'm around you girls.
It's still a bad idea, Honeydew, Clarity asked. I know you have trouble getting used to new ponies sometimes, but you'll never be able to boost your confidence if you avoid your worries just by slipping into the background and letting the world pass by. Honeydew sighed.
I suppose you're right,
she conceded.
I guess I really don't want to slip away from any pony else entirely. I just wish I could disappear when Scuffle was around.
Clarity patted Honeydew on the back. We'll figure out how to deal with him eventually, she reassured her shy friend. I promise. Now, let's pick an enchantment that will suit you better. Honeydew bit her lip.
You girls don't think there are any spells in here I can use for magical biology-related things, do you? I saw one!
Dinky realized.
It's just a couple of pages ahead of where you are now, I think.
Honeydew slid through the next few pages until she found the spell Dinky had mentioned. Life Empathy Charm. Provides the wearer with an increased ability to sense and share in the feelings of plants and animals. Requires prior knowledge of the skill in order to be properly amplified. Works for unicorns. Remains empirically untested on other pony races, but claims to be of many that it has an effect. Hey! Fluttershy! Cats!
Oh, thank you. I'm really good at sensing the feelings of plants, though.
Honeydew pointed out. But this applies to plants and animals, Clarity said. Have you ever tried tapping into their consciousness, like you do with plants?
Once or twice,
Honeydew said.
it's very difficult to do. Animals have much more concrete and complicated pairs of thought. Sharing in everything they feel at once is much harder than sharing the sensations of a plant. Well, maybe this charm can help,
Dinky suggested.
It says you already need to have the ability before you can amplify it. But if any pony in this class might be able to benefit from a spell, it's you. Well, I guess that could be useful.
Honeydew said.
So I give it a try?
Her friends nodded, and Honeydew set her sapphire on the table and surrounded it with Aurora. She glanced at the book one more time and squeezed her eyes shut as she applied the spell. The gem flashed a brilliant shade of blue for a moment, before rapidly fading back to its original dull color.
I hope that worked.
Honeydew said, examining the stone as she expected it to look different.
What would it have?
Dinky asked.
These are easily spells. Once you attach that to a piece of jewelry, you can test it out.
Honeydew nodded.
Well then, that's a sleepy, Dinky. What enchantment are you going to use? Well, I found one,
Dinky said.
It's not as exciting as the one you girls used, but it's important to me.
Dinky opened her textbook to a specific page, and Clarity and Honeydew leaned over to read. Long distance bond allows two ponies who are socially close to one another, but separated by a long physical distance, to maintain a simple bond. Requires two enchanted objects. Enchanted gem will go fatally and emit warmth when the wearer of one gem thinks about the owner of the other. Requires both ponies be wearing the enchanted objects simultaneously.
My friend Pipsqueak back in Pineville has only just moved there for trying here in the last year or so, and I'm one of his closest friends.
Dinky explained.
He's happy I get to the Enchanted Academy, but I miss him while I'm away, and he misses me even more, since he doesn't have many friends in Pineville to pass time with. I figure if we each have something enchanted with the spell, it won't really feel like we're so far apart.
Aww, Honeydew cooed. Exciting or not, that's really sweet, said commented. There's just one problem, Clarity enchanted. You need to make two enchanted objects, but you only have the one gem. Dinky nodded.
I wonder if this charm works with two different gems. Maybe Professor Lester could give me another one.
Did I hear my name? Asked Professor Lester, as he trotted over to Dinky's table.
I have a small question,
Dinky said hesitantly.
I was thinking of casting this long-distance bond spell, but it needs two stones. Could I maybe get a less powerful stone to use for a second piece?
Professor Lester frowned. Oh, Dinky, I'm not sure the spell would work very well if the enchanted items are identical. She brightened. But if we could split the gem, you'll have two halves split very cleanly. It still maintains its high quality spell containment. It was Dinky's turn to frown.
But isn't a diamond the hardest stone there is?
She asked quizzically.
Even if we could break it, I doubt we could do it without just breaking it into jagged chunks.
Well, I can't break it, Professor Lester admitted. But if I take it upstairs to the combat magic professor, he might be able to. I've seen him use a spell cleaving an entire boulder cleanly in half. I don't think even a diamond would be a match for him. The professor looked at Dinky's diamond and placed it in her saddlebag. I'll bring the house of this back to you this evening in the Phyllis' residence tower. You can spend the rest of the class period helping your friends attach their gems to some accessories. And you can grab the one that you'll abandon your gems later. You can enchant them once I get them back later tonight.
That sounds fun, Dinky said. Thanks for going out of your way to help, Professor.
Professor Lester flicked her mane and chuckled. It's no trouble. Not for a student as dedicated as you are, anyway. Professor Lester rambled off to check on the other foals, leaving Dinky and her friends to choose their accessories. Clarity pursed her lips as she examined the gemstone. What do you think I should make with this? She asked. I'm not really a fan of bracelets, or a necklace, or something that seems unnecessary, since I really don't need to see it to use magic. Heidi reached over and tearfully looked at a lock of Clarity's messy blue mane.
Well, if I were you, I'd put on a hair clip.
The pink filly giggled. A ridiculous grin spread across Clarity's face. Honeydew, that's an awesome idea, she yelled, startling her friend a bit. Are you going to make a haircut too? You always have your mane done up all fancy anyway. Honeydew shook her head.
Nah, if I put it in my mane, you probably wouldn't be able to see it. But I know somewhere where it'll look nice.
Honeydew sat down and pulled the tip of her braided hair around in front of her body. A small metal band was fastened near the bottom, holding the tail's intricate woven pattern in place, save for the tuffle tip that stuck out from the other side of the fastener. Honeydew removed the band, causing her tail to partially unwind. She fixed a small, rounded stone to it, and then, after winding her tail back into position, slipped it back on. She gave her tail a few curious flicks, and nodded happily when the stone stayed in place.
Feel any different?
Guys, I just realized how Honeydew has her mane and tail. It's Elsa! Honeydew shook her head. Don't worry, it'll work when you need it, Clardy assured her, as he returned with a silver beret, she retrieved from the pile of accessories Professor Lester placed on the table back at the room for the students to use. Now, let's see, how does this work? Clarity managed to fasten a hook to the back of her topaz that allowed it to connect to her hair clip. She pushed back the dangling hair on her right side and clipped it back with her new accessory, giving her an adorably lopsided appearance. While Clarity and Honeydew chatted excitedly about their new enchanted accessories, Dinky made her way over to the box of unclaimed ones.
Let's see,
she mumbled, pushing aside more hair clips and other girly objects.
I need something that Pip would be willing to wear.
At the bottom of the container, Dinky found two very simple brass pendants, each with a space in it to place a gem. Smiling, she placed both of them in her towel bag for later.
I hope Pip will be excited about these as I am,
Dinky thought.
I'd hate to have to split that diamond for no reason.
She shook her head.
What am I thinking? Biscuit's gonna love these.
Reassured, the filly rejoined her friends.
The light orb in the room at the base of the residence tower cast wavery light over Dinky, as the filly slowly toiled away on an essay, glancing at the door every few moments in the hopes that Professor Lester would appear. The chamber at the base of the tower was abandoned. At this late hour, all the students had either retired to their dorms to spend the remainder of the evening studying, or were next door in the residence tower lounge. Sparkler wasn't even in her room, although Dinky wasn't particularly upset that the grouchy overseer wasn't around. Dinky listened to the muffled chatter of the folds next door in the lounge. Clarity's voice, as usual, was loud enough to make out even over the rest of the noise. She longed to go join her friends, but was determined to keep waiting for, "Hello, Dinky." Dinky turned to the door.
Professor Lester, I didn't hear you come in.
"I was trying to be quiet in case ponies were studying in here," Professor explained, "although, from the sound of things next door, it seems like you're the only one who's studying right now."
I was just working on something while I waited for you, Dinky admitted. Was the combat magic professor able to cut the diamond?
The professor responded by lighting a horn, and 2 half-moon shaped diamonds rose out of her saddlebag. She placed them in Dinky's hoof. "Now, you take good care of those," she warned. "It's hard for some professionals to get a hold of diamonds for enchantment purposes. For a first-time student to get them is basically unheard of."
I'll keep them safe, Dinky assured her. And my friends and I will let you know if our enchantments work when we see you in class next week.
"I'll be looking forward to it," the professor said as he opened the door. "Have a pleasant evening, Dinky." Professor Lester trotted out, and Dinky turned to find her friends, but stopped and listened curiously as he heard another set of voices approaching just outside the building. "Presto, I've told you 1,000 times. If you give them too much free rein, there's going to be chaos!" "Oh, come on, Sparkler, open up. This is the Magic Academy, not a military school. I'm all for our rules, but sometimes things we don't need to regulate."
The overseers are talking? Dinky thought curiously. It seems like those two are usually too busy with their responsibilities to collaborate very much.
Dinky opened the tower door just a crack and peered curiously out. The two older students were standing on the landing, just a few pony lengths from the door. Presto looked worn for the day's work, but the colt still managed to crack a smile. I think maybe you're putting on a little too much pressure on yourself, and the feelings you're looking after this year, that's all, he said, maintaining a tone that sounded helpful rather than critical. Sparkle remained stoic. I'm trying to make sure the students receive the experience they're here for. Drama between students is never a good thing for promoting study. Presto stumbled his hose. Well, whatever. I know you have your reasons for being a little steadfast in your ways, and I respect that. Just try not to go too overboard, okay? He extended a huff. I'm just trying to make sure you don't stress yourself out too much. I mean, you and I are friends, aren't we? Sparkle stood still for a few moments. Then, to Dinky's great surprise, she seemed to soften a little. She took Presto's outstretched hoof and gave a small smile on her own. Yeah, I suppose you've always been looking out for me, she admitted. And you for me, I'm sure, Presto replied. For a moment, the two ponies stood in silence. Then, Sparkler turned to go. Wait, Sparkler, hold on a second. The filly turned around and said nothing, so Presto continued. I was thinking about going down to Canterlot this weekend to pick up some stuff. Did you, want to come along? Sparkler's face remained rigid, but something in her eyes seemed to reflect more than what her expression showed. After a few moments, she sighed and shook her head. I've got too much to do. You go. Presto visibly deflated. Right, he mumbled. Can't blame a colt for trying, I guess. He turned towards the colt's tower. Have a good night, Sparkler. Sparkler wheeled around and made for her own door. Dinky gasped and scampered backwards, throwing herself back onto the couch where she had been studying, so it looked like she had been spying. She only managed to spread her essay in front of her when the overseer entered. Her purple eyes met Dinky's bright yellow ones. What are you looking at?
Nothing,
Dinky chirped, as easily as possible.
just doing some paperwork.
Sparkler wordlessly made her way to her private dorm, slamming the door, and leaving Dinky alone to ponder what she had just overheard. Found you! Clarity poked her head into the small opening beneath an outcropping of rocks, into which Dinky had wedged herself.
You did your tongue, too,
Dinky grunted, as she struggled to squeeze herself out of the tiny space.
It took you less than a minute, and considering how far away you started from, you must have come straight here.
Clarity beamed. This is so much fun. Let's test it again. Dinky rolled her eyes.
It doesn't need any more testing, Clarity, she pointed out. You've already proven half a dozen times that you can find me immediately, no matter where I hide, as long as I have a parade on.
Clarity positively glowed with glee as she tapped a little gem-adorned hair clip. Come on, just one more, she pleaded, giving Dinky the best puppy dog eyes, the quivering lips she could master. Dinky sighed.
Oh, fine,
she grumbled, tail drooping at the feet.
But then we're done, all right?
Atta girl, Clarity cheered. Go on, hide again. Clarity covered her eyes, and Dinky took off toward another part of the grounds, trying, in vain she knew, to find a hiding space good enough to outsmart Clarity's enchanted beret. She decided this time to make her way to the forest, when she hunkered down beneath a patch of wide ferns and waited. After a moment, something caught the filly's attention. The forest once again fallen eerily silent, and when that happened, there was usually one explanation. Before she could investigate, though, the silence was broken by the sound of hoofs crashing through the brush, and a moment later, a layer of reddish magic surrounded the ferns and lifted them away. Gotcha! Clarity giggled. Man, this enchantment is really... Dinky pressed a hoof to Clarity's muzzle, silence her.
Shh, listen,
she whispered.
What do you hear?
The fillies listened, but the forest gave no sound. Nothing, Clarity mumbled, confused.
Exactly. It's too quiet, and that means...
A bush, a short distance away, shifted just a tiny bit, and a fleeting glint of blue passed by the shadows beneath the leaves.
Here you are!
Dinky roared, hurling herself headlong towards the bush.
You're not gonna get away this time!
There was a frenzied rustle. The creature darted for the bush and scurried deeper into the forest with its usual strangely ambiguous way. Dinky crashed through the bushes, ignoring the constant scrapes she received in an effort to keep up with it. Suddenly gave a high-pitched yelp, and the creature stumbled. It paused for a moment, and realized Dinky was catching up, and leapt into the trees, disappearing almost instantly into the boughs. Dinky skated to a halt at the bare patch of ground where the target stumbled. While the creature itself is gone, something else remained. A bright orange fox was lying in the dirt. Would you guys hold it against me if I, right now, go squee over the appearance of an adorable fox?
No, go ahead. No, be our guest.
Right. Oh! It's a little fox! It was struggling, unable to get up. Dinky assumed the creature she was pursuing and managed to tramp over and injured the poor thing before it fled into the trees. Clarity pushed her way through the bushes, panting, and came to stand by Dinky's side. I take it you didn't catch him, she asked. Dinky shook her head.
No, but look at this. I think he accidentally hurt this fox as he was running.
Do you think Honeydew can help? Clarity asked. I don't know the first thing about animals, but Honeydew might be able to figure out what's wrong with it at least.
I haven't seen Honeydew all day,
Dinky replied.
Do you know where she is?
Clarity looked pensive for the tiniest moment. In the Celestia library, second story, by that table in the corner, she said in a matter of fact.
Did your beret tell you all that?
Yep.
You're having entirely too much fun with that thing.
Can't argue with that. Clarity began to make her way out of the trees. Stay here, she commanded. I'll bring Honeydew to see if she can help. Dinky slumped down onto her haunches and looked at the fox, which continued to eye her warily.
I guess we both have a bone to pick with that changeling, or whatever it is,
she said to the fox.
But boy, it's fast, isn't it?
The fox responded with a little snarl, which, sadly, since it is a fox, doesn't look the least bit threatening. Seriously, foxes are impossible to look threatening. There are few animals out there that can't look threatening no matter how much they try. Cats and foxes. Foxes look too sweet and cute and cunning. This is why sometimes I come this close to giving Trixie a fox for a pet. A few minutes later, Clarity reappeared, and Honeydew trotted close behind her.
Hi, Honeydew,
Dinky glared.
Can you help us out?
Honeydew bit her lip.
Professor Chestnut and I have talked about animals a little bit,
she said nervously.
But I haven't even learned anything about normal animal care yet, let alone spells for it. You don't have to use a healing spell or anything,
Dinky said.
Just use ancestry spells so you're good to see if you can figure out the problem.
Honeydew shrugged.
Well, all right.
Honeydew hit her horn and closed her eyes, exactly as she did when trying to connect to a plant. After only a second or two, she gave a surprised squeak and lurched backward, quickly setting out the spell.
It's like,
she said absently.
I felt it myself. A lot more clearly than I was expecting to, actually.
Clarity grabbed the tip of Honeydew's tail with her magic and laid it in the air, displaying the enchanted tail ring Honeydew had made the day before. I'm guessing this had something to do with that, she snickered. If your enchantment works anywhere near as well as mine does, then I'm not really surprised. Honeydew blushed.
I kind of forgot I was wearing that. So, what's wrong with the fox's leg? Well, I don't think it's broken. Just sprained or something,
Honeydew admitted.
I'm no expert, but maybe if you just brace it with something to keep it straight, you'll be able to walk on it.
Dinky set her saddlebag and searched for something she could use to help the fox. She removed a thin scarf and then retrieved a straight stick from the forest floor.
I could probably make a split or something with this, she suggested. Make sure the fox cooperates.
Clarity nodded, and after giving the fox an apologetic glance, looked into the air with cloud of magic. The animal yelped in surprise and looked at the filly nervously. Gingerly, Dinky reached out and extended the fox's leg. Hey, Dinky, if this doesn't work, I have an idea. Fold the flare signal!
Why do we even have one of those?
Considering the fact that this studio has a whole bunch of Pokemon, ponies, animals, and other various creatures, we kind of need this for Fluttershy.
Oh.
It gave a low growl, but continued to stay still. Dinky placed the stick against its leg and wrapped it with a scarf, creating a makeshift splint. The filly backed off a few paces as Clarity set the fox down. It shifted on the ground before delicately testing its leg. It managed to stand and lift a few places.
Here you go, Dinky said. It's a serve until your leg feels better.
The fillies all peered at the fox curiously as it ambled in a few small circles, adjusting to the new way it had to walk. It looked at the splint, then at Dinky, with a less hostile expression than it had worn before. Then, and in one quick movement, it sensed a bright object that had been dangling partially out of Dinky's saddlebag. It disappeared into the opening between the roots of an enormous tree. Dinky had only managed to catch sight of the object in its jaws. One of her pendants, the diamond still waiting enchantment embedded inside. Dinky cried indignantly as the fox's bushy tail disappeared into the darkness.
You ungrateful little pest! That's important! Give it back!
Dinky cantered up to the tree and pawed at the roots, but they were too massive to budge with any force the filly could apply. So he tried to pull them up magically, but that failed just as spectacularly. Angry, Dinky shoved her muzzle into the tiny space, but she couldn't even push her head through the opening, let alone her entire body. She sank to the ground, peering into the hole, but there was no sign of the fox. However, there was something else intriguing.
It looks like there's a pretty large space down there,
she mumbled to her friends as they struggled to see deeper into the darkness.
What do you mean? Clarity asked. Is it some kind of hollow beneath the tree?
I think so, Dinky said. It looks big enough for a filly to stand in, if only we could get past these roots.
Heidi cleared her throat.
Dinky, I could probably help with that,
she said meekly.
Dinky stepped aside. Go right ahead, she invited. One of my diamonds was in that pendant. I had to get it back.
Heidi stepped up to the base of the tree and once again lit her horn. For several moments, nothing happened. Heidi began to strain.
Come on, she groaned. Just move a little bit. Your roots can still hold.
Clarity raised an eyebrow.
What is he doing?
Talking to the tree,
Dinky said simply. All at once, a root lurched, causing an upheaval of dirt as it moved to a new position. The other root did the same a moment later, creating a tiny passageway between them, just wide enough for a filly to squeeze through. Heidi paused, panting hard.
That should do it, I think, she gasped. The tree was very old, and I don't think it was too keen from moving the position it had been for the last few generations. But eventually it was willing to listen to me.
Clarity passed a hoof on Heidi's back.
That's really impressive, you know, she commented.
Heidi waved away the compliment.
Come on, let's go get Dinky's pendant,
she said. Clarity and Heidi moved out of the way so Dinky could pass. The purple filly clasped an illumination spell and cleverly descended a steep dirt pathway into the space beneath the tree. The chamber found was even larger than she anticipated. It was roughly circular and almost as spacious as the dorm the three fillies shared. The tightly packed soil ceiling was only a few inches above their heads, and dozens of roots of various sizes crisscrossed through it. Near the back room was a troublesome fox, who once again eyes filled with suspicion. Without even approaching the animal, Dinky cast a levitation spell, and her pendant flew across the room and back into her saddlebag. The fox didn't do anything to object.
Look at him. He doesn't even care. He just wanted to be trouble,
Dinky said indignantly.
Maybe he's hungry,
Heidi suggested.
Once you figured out your pendant wasn't food, you'd probably stop caring about it.
Heidi took a few crackers from her saddlebag and then tossed them across the room. The fox took a cautious sniff, then snatched them up and carried them off past the girls and out the tunnel into the forest. where I proceeded to cuddle it.
See? You just wanted something to eat,
She remarked.
What is this place anyway?
Dinky asked.
It's way too big to be the fox's den. I don't know,
Clarity said pensively.
but this place is kind of cool if you have some imagination. Visit this chamber with a light orb or two for the castle. A couple of cushions or something, maybe some posters.
Dinky laughed. Here? She incredulously.
Seems kind of a weird place to hang out, unless you're going for the whole super secret clubhouse effect.
Clarity's jaw dropped. That's an excellent idea, she cried. No one knows about this place. It could be our own secret hideout.
There's just one problem with that.
Dinky pointed out.
Anybody can get in here now that we've moved the roots out of the way, so it won't stay secret for long. Actually, now that the roots have moved once, there isn't as much soil in the way to prevent them from moving back.
You chimed in.
I think, as long as we use the space regularly, it would probably be pretty easy for me to open and close the roots as needed.
A wacky grin spread across Clarity's face. See, it's perfect, she insisted. We could have secret meetings here without anybody else discovering us.
Secret meetings about what?
Honeydew asked, sounding increasingly confused. Who cares? Clarity said. Secret hideouts are cool, no matter what you do with them. Honeydew sighed.
Well, I'm not sure I see the appeal, but I'll take your word for it. I can think of one thing about it,
Dinky said.
It's somewhere other than our dorm where we can hide from Scuffle and his brothers.
Honeydew's eyes widened.
I hadn't thought about that.
She admitted.
Maybe this would be a good place to hang out when we are in class. As a weird idea this is, I can't help but agree,
Dinky admitted. All right, Clarity yelled, stamping her triumphantly. Come on, let's go back to the castle right away and start drawing up designs for our new secret hideout. Clarity practically sprinted out the dark chamber. Honeydew carefully closed the roots over the hole, while she and Dinky exited. Both of them had to run up the castle with Clarity, who was already bound for the castle. The trio immediately began to discuss the details. What our fillies don't know is that this hideout was also used by Celestia and Luna when they were wee little fillies. The three fillies were so engrossed in discussing their new hideout that they even noticed the uncomfortable prickling sensation being observed by an all too familiar pair of blue eyes. Their owner mumbled to himself as it watched them leave. When she spoke to the fox, she said I was a changeling. Yes, she did. The creature hissed ponderously to herself. This will be even easier now than I anticipated. Yes, it will. She will have no reason to suspect or mistrust me when we finally meet, and she is convinced that it's the castle changeling who watches her. The leaves rustled ominously as the creature shuddered with anticipation. Time runs short. Yes, it does. I must not continue to stall. The purple filly and I shall meet face to face at last. Yes, we will, and we will do so tomorrow. Dinky found herself struggling to focus in magic history class. Normally, giving a class held on Friday afternoon, completely identifying attention was a task in and of itself. But today, there were additional distractions clouding Philly's mind. First and foremost, her typical Friday morning transformation conjuring class had been canceled due to Professor Flux's absence. The stallion had gone to an important conference in Philadelphia. Unfortunately, this meant that Dinky did not have the chance to confront Nestor about her suspicions. She resented the fact that the mystery creature in the forest had to continue for another week. On top of that, her mind was teeming with ideas for the subterranean hideout she and her friends had discovered the previous afternoon. Clarity was going home for the upcoming weekend. It was the first time all term she had done so, and she and Dinky were both planning to bring decorations and simple furniture to set up there. Something at the door tapped lightly against Dinky's hind leg, bringing her out of her daydream. She leaned over and inspected the offending object that had bumped her hoof. It was a quill, presumably dropped by the student behind her. Dinky levitated the quill and turned around briefly to deposit the quill on the desk of a yellow coat with an orange mane and blue eyes, who know it briefly and thanks. Dinky hesitated a moment before turning back to her own work.
That's really strange,
She thought.
I've been in class all this term, but I don't remember seeing that cult before.
Class ended a few minutes later. Dinky shoved her woefully incomplete magic notes into her saddlebag and resolved to check in with Clarity and Heidi later to fill the parts she had missed. They had magic and history class earlier that week, so they were a useful source of information. Just before Dinky left the room, there was a thump and loud clatter behind her. Glancing over her shoulder, she saw that the colt had been sitting behind her and managed to drop his saddlebag, spilling school supplies everywhere. He grumbled something inaudible as he began to pick up the scattered objects. Dinky tried back into the room.
Hey, do you need help with that?
She asked curiously. The girl shrugged. Sure, he mumbled. Dinky let her horn, and between the two falls, the saddlebag was quickly repacked.
So, did you transfer into class at some point after the term began?
Dinky asked.
I don't remember seeing you before, but maybe I was just being a little unobservant.
Oh, I've been here the whole time, the colt said. He looked for a moment, as if he had something else to add, but nothing came.
Oh, really?
Dinky asked.
I don't remember you answering any questions in class or anything.
The colt frowned and looked at the floor. I don't talk much, he mumbled. I have a few embarrassing speech habits. Again, the colt displayed a physical effort to stop himself from saying something else. This made Dinky all the more curious. His voice itself was smooth, almost soothing, so she wondered what it was that felt like she had to hide.
Well, I won't make fun of you or anything, she offered. You can talk to me about worrying about it if you want.
The colt shrugged. It's not too terrible, I suppose, he admitted. It's just that, if I'm not careful, I have a nasty habit of reaffirming of what I just said right after I say it. Yes, I do. He paused and blushed, like that.
Oh, that's not a big deal,
Dinky assured him.
I mean, I can see how some of the mean fools would make fun of you for that, but your friends didn't mind.
The colt smiled sheepishly. I don't exactly have many friends, he admitted. I tend to stay away from other ponies most of the time. Yes, I do.
Well then, I'll be your friend, Dinky offered. It'd be safe for a friendly colt like you to be alone all the time just because of a weird habit.
She paused, looking quizzical.
What's your name anyway?
Sunbeam, the colt replied, a little more confidently. It matches my colt cutie mark pretty well. Yes, it does. He turned a bit, so Dinky could see the image on his flank of a dark cloud with a ray of light piercing through it.
Well, I'm Dinky Doo. Nice to meet you, Sunbeam.
Likewise, Sunbeam replied. So, if you'd like to be friends, maybe we could hang out sometime. Yes, we could, say, next week after class.
Sure, Dinky said sweetly. I gotta go for now. My friends are probably waiting for me.
Take care, Sunbeam called. Wouldn't want to keep them waiting. Oh no, you wouldn't. Dinky waved and tried for the room, leaving Sunbeam alone with the unoccupied desk. He smiled. I think you and I are going to have lots of fun together, Dinky Doo, he mumbled, in a voice not quite as endearing as the one he had spoken to the filly. Oh yes, we are.